Hey Truth Seekers, it's Carolyn here, and I'm going to be doing a deck profile of my Sadie Love and Hope deck from Fearless. So obviously, since we didn't get any new Truth Seekers with the Fearless expansion, we had to use the ones from Cross Trainers and Red Letter Day, and so I chose to use Sadie. As per usual, she's still the best, I think. So if you're not already aware, her function, ability, action, not really sure what we call that on Truth Seekers, but anyway. Once per turn, you may search your deck for a level 1 Animo, excluding Ultra, and place it into your small group. And with this deck, since it is a dual color deck, I chose to run 3 of both Love and Hope, and I also went ahead and ran 3 Prayer as well, just to make sure that I had everything that I needed in the proper order. Moving this out of the way. All right, we're going to start off with our lovely Love Animo here. I run a 1 of a Kinleo. He is a 1 for 2, and he has the action that says you may search your deck for 1 Faith, Hope, or Holy Spirit power and add it to your power pool. Shuffle your deck afterwards. He is great for getting, for playing early game and getting those power cards that you need to see. Next, I run a single Fondly. Fondly is a 2 for 3, which, it's not the greatest, but if you're facing an active Cine when this card is played from your hand into your small group, you may draw 3 cards, which is fantastic. Next, I run 2 Furball, which also has that Hope Fellowship bonus here. He is a 1 Love, 1 of anything for 3, but it's a 2 for 6 when I play it with something else, which is awesome. Next, I run our Midwestern pony here, Opa Pony. He is a 2 for 5, or he is a 2 for 10. And this one says Repent, which is a unique action. And it says you may choose to add the victory points from this card directly to your score instead of applying it towards your active Cine if you're facing one, which is fantastic. I really like that. Next, we run the Kelebeka line. I run 2 of each, and this beginning level, level 1, is a 1 for 2, and says when this card is played from your hand into your small group, you may draw a card. I run 2 level 2s as well, which is a 1 for 4, and there is no ability or action. But its third is a 1 for 10, which is phenomenal, and says as long as this card is in your small group, any Animo you activate against an active Cine earns plus 3 victory points, which is awesome. And next, because this is a semi-updated Fellowship with Dinosaurs, but we can't really call it that, so I don't remember what I actually called it. But anyway, this is 3 level 1 Agapesaurs. It is a 2 for 5. Looking at that cute little baby, who grows into this awesome dude. Boom, baby. So I run 3 Agapesaur level 2. It is a 2 for 9 or 2 for 12. And no opponent may reveal a Cine to you on their next turn, which is a wonderful action to have, especially in this deck. He's also got a really nice short verse there, so if you play him with the Cross Trainers, you have multiple verses that you can now use to defeat Cine, so you really could make an entire deck just around that whole factor. Moving on to our Hope Animo, we have Tortosaur. This good hard-working dude is a shuffle 1 back for 3. Action says you may search your deck for any level 1 Animo and place it directly into your small group. Next we have Daybeak. Daybeak also has a awesome fellowship bonus here. He is a shuffle 1 of anything back, 1 Hope for 6, or 2 for 8. And he says once per turn, as long as this card is in your small group and you have no cards in your hand, you may draw 3 cards. Moving on, I run 2 of our Hightail here. He is a shuffle 2 back for 9, or he also has a unique ability here that says if this card is in your hand, you may choose to reveal it to your opponent and shuffle it back into your deck. If you do, draw 3 cards. Moving on, I run 2 level 1 Socrows. It is 1 hope, 1 of anything for 4 points, and his ability says once per turn, as long as this card is in your small group, you may shuffle any 1 card back from your hand into your deck. If you do, draw 1 card. And then I run 2 of his level 2 here, and he is very patient. He is a 2 for 2 times, meaning he has this harvest action here that says at the time this card is activated, it is worth 2 victory points for each card in your hand, up to 16 victory points max. So he is great later on in the game if you have a whole bunch of stuff in your hand, if you've been drawing cards. He's really great to get a lot of points very quickly. Next, I run Conqueror level 1. I have our normal Conqueror here, and then I have the updated Conqueror art from the box that you can order. He is the special card that comes in that box with the lovely sleeves that we're using here. And so you can get both of these if you would like them. But he is a 2 for 7 and says when this card is played from your hand into your small group, draw 1 card. This card may not be grown or activated in the same turn in which it was added to your small group. Then we have Conqueror level 2 here, our big boy. He is a 2 for 12, and his action says search your deck for any 4 cards and place them on top of your deck in any order. He is similar to Snakebit without having to just end your turn. You still get points on that turn, which is awesome. But he is a 2 for 12. He's great. And keeping in our theme of our fearless dragons here, we have our Conqueror Ultra and Agapesaur Ultra. They are both a 3. Agapesaur is a 3 for 12, and Conqueror is a 3 for 13 here. Agapesaur says, if this card is in your small group, anytime an opponent reveals a Cine to you, and after applying its action, you may search your deck for any 1 card. Shuffle your deck afterwards. And Conqueror Ultra says, as long as this card is in your small group, any recycle or shuffle costs on your Animo in your small group may be instead treated as just a regular hope cost. Awesome guys there. Awesome artwork on these guys. Loving them. And then moving on to our big baddies here. We have a Lurakai. He is an 8, and his ability says, during your setup phase, the Cine may be played, revealed to an opponent, directly from your discard pile, as if it were from your hand. He is awesome, so you can have your hand full of stuff. You can just discard him, do your thing later on in the game. If you really need a Cine, you just go look for him and put him in your opponent's spot. Next, we have Selfish. Selfish is an 8, and his ability says, as long as the Cine is active, the fellowship bonuses of your opponent's Animo may not be enabled, which is terrible. Next, we have Dismayfly. He is a 10. As long as the Cine remains active, your opponent may not discard any cards from their hand. So he's pretty terrible, actually. Next, we have Venomoth. Venomoth is a 10. His ability says, as long as this card is active, your opponent's Animo may not be activated in the same turn that they are added to or grown in their small group. Next, we have Brandish. Brandish is pretty awesome. I love the artwork on this card. And he says, as long as this card is active, each time your opponent adds a power card from their hand into their power pool, they must discard the top card of their deck, which is terrible, and I love it. Next, we have Bad Apple. He's a bad apple. And he says, as long as this Cine is active, your opponent must discard the top 2 cards of their deck in order to use their Truth Seeker's ability. Ooh. We have Tollcrow coming in next. Tollcrow says, as long as this card is active, your opponent may not use any special power cards from their power pool to activate Animo. He's going to cause a lot of death here. And then finally, finishing out our terrible big baddies, we have Fearcrow Mega Plus. So he is a paralyzing fear, and his artwork is beautiful. And he says your opponent may not play any cards from their hand on their next turn. And he is an 18, which is just massive, as well as the fact that he counts as 2 Cinnies defeated when you defeat this guy. So he is pretty awesome in that regard. And he's just such a cool looking card. He was one of my favorites from Series 1, and I'm so glad that he made a comeback. Moving into our story cards here, I run 2 for such a time. And this says, reveal any number of Cinnies from your hand to your opponent and shuffle them back into your deck. You may then draw 2 cards for each Cinnie shuffled back into your deck in this manner. So this is a great way to get some extra draw power. Next, I have the Giant Killer. You get to choose one of the following. Search your deck for a Mega Cinnie and reveal it to your opponent. This can only be done if the opponent is not already facing a Cinnie. Or, if you are facing a Mega Cinnie, return it to its owner and have them shuffle it back into their deck. So you can either fight your opponent or you can help save yourself. He's pretty great. We also run Paused Maws. Place this card in your active Cinnie spot or next to it if it's currently occupied by another card. No opponent may reveal a Cinnie to you on their next turn. At the beginning of your next turn, remove this card, as well as any other copies of Paused Maws in your hand, deck, or discard pile from the game. So you can only use 1 copy of this card once in a game, which is great. However, you probably don't want to run too many of these just because you're going to be removing them at some point if you use it. So I'm choosing to only run the 1 because of that. Next, we have Into the Fire. You may swap up to 3 power cards from your power pool with standard power cards of the same number that you find in your deck and shuffle your deck afterwards. So this card is great because especially if you're running a dual color deck and you're not running something like Prayer or something like that, this is a great ability to change out your power, because if I have like All Love Animo in my small group, this is going to be a wonderful way for me to fix that if I have All Hope power. So great card there. Moving on to my equipment cards here, I have Flotation Device, and I'm actually running 3 of this in this deck. And this says this card may only be attached to a Love Animo. Upon activating the Animo to whom this card is attached, you may choose to bypass the active Cinnie and add that Animo's victory points directly to your score. So this is a great way just to float by those nasty Cinnies, which is why I run several of these. Next, I have a single Scarlet Cord, and Scarlet Cord is just a really awesome card. It says the Animo to whom this card is attached may either be returned to your hand or discarded from your small group at any time during your setup phase. If you choose to discard it, you may search your deck for any Animo with an equal or lesser victory point and place it into your hand. This card must be discarded once the action is used. So he's great to be able to just kind of move some stuff around if you need it done. And then last, but certainly not least, we have a single hindrance card. This is Goliath's Sword. As long as this card is attached to your opponent's Mega Cinnie, they must discard the top 2 cards of their deck every time they play an Animo from their hand into their small group, and before applying the abilities of those Animo. When the Cinnie to whom this card is attached is defeated, your opponent may shuffle any 1 card from their discard pile back into their deck. So, awesome stuff here. Just a beautiful set of cards in Fearless. Really loving the new stuff. Just absolutely awesome. So this is the Sadie deck review for Fearless. And remember, Truth Seekers, keep learning virtues and defeating Cinnies.